At the end of the first probe replacement video from this series of two videos about replacing the temperature moisture sensing probe and setting things up so that I can more easily put different probes, attach different probes to the Swarm Eval Kit. But what we had just got done doing was unplugging the original probe that was giving us sunwalks, and then plugging in a new probe. And this is the night when the new probe was plugged in, and we noticed that we were getting more reasonable moisture data readings from that probe, and also there was no sunwalk that night. Here's a daytime temperatures, here's the next day, and here's the night, and there's no sunwalk in there. But with the original probe plugged back in, we wondered, well, maybe shortening the length of the I2C cable, cutting it in half, basically, its length in half, that might keep the old probe from having sunwalks. And so we set that up for last night, which got down to 18 degrees, and boy, we did get a sunwalk. The old probe is up to its old tricks here, giving the longest sunwalk we've seen, because it was colder than any previous night that I've taken measurements, and also it stayed cold longer. So here it's finally at about 9:30 this morning, it started dropped back down from 16,000 plus degrees Celsius to more reasonable temperatures here, and starting to show daytime temperatures. But also immediately, as soon as right here, as soon as I plugged the old probe back in again, we're getting an increase in the moisture sensor readings, but just an increase up from, say, 600 roughly to 700 on the moisture sensor scale. And these are values that are much more in line both with the values given by the new probe, but also with the values given by the indoor probe, which is exactly the same as the old and the replacement probe. They're all three the same device. But those readings are all much more consistent than these very high, almost flatline readings that we were getting from the old probe with the long I2C cable. And that cable is designed to be, well, I2C buses are designed for use inside the desktop computers, and distances just aren't that great for cabling, and if you use much longer cables, you run the risk of having voltages that are too low to send accurate results. The packets of data may get corrupted, and so that's most likely what was happening here. And so we're getting much more reasonable, varied results of the sort that you see with the new probe here, and also with the Peace Lily probe inside our house. So I guess it's time to retire the original probe. I must have damaged it while trying to install that marine grade, very heavy duty, thick heat shrink tubing. I finally gave up trying to get it to shrink down onto the probe for fear that I would melt the probe, but it looks like I damaged it anyway. So there you have it. That seems to be the result. The shortening of the I2C cable was definitely helpful, and the new probe is not taking walks on the sun, and so we will retire the old probe and reinstall the new probe and continue with our experiments.